tree cover to cause shade pretty much everywhere that I have room to grow, because I like to give my kids room to play. So when you have little room to grow in the shade, sun, your plants try to do their best to do what they can. So for instance, tomato plants. They, back here, the ones that get enough sun throughout the day are growing pretty straight up. The one that's not getting enough sun is growing over, and now it's growing up. But it is producing me some little cherry tomatoes. Don't know if I'm going to be able to salvage those ones or not, because I'm sure some bug will come by and use them as tasty treats. But it is producing. I didn't plant this grapevine. This looks like my grapevine by the leaf, as opposed to the wild muscadine scuppernong, whichever these are, grapevines that grow in the back here. So it looks like, I don't know how, I have created a second grapevine out of nowhere. I know I had some little tiny grape thingies on here at one point, and they're nowhere to be found, so maybe a bird picked them off, dropped them on the ground in the right spot, and made me another grapevine. Here's another example. This tomato plant is inside this box. It's coming down this way, went up here, and it's fighting with this other plant, which I think is a sunflower, and it's probably gonna win. Meanwhile, this little tomato plant's got himself wrapped around this tiny pepper plant in there. So let's give him some room to breathe, or whatever. But this pepper plant, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of sunlight. So we'll try to give him some more sunlight, and he's been chewed on by the bugs. Now, over in this box, which I moved, hoping that it'll get a little more shade, and in the springtime it does get more, a little more sun. In the springtime it does get more sun, but it is right underneath this tree here, which is causing shade. However, I noticed that the carrots like this very much, and we had some rain here, so that's why all the carrots are down right now. But I think this would be a great box for carrots, just because they like the shade. They're okay with the shade, as long as they don't get too much shade from the tomato plants that are growing with them. Like this guy. See this guy, these two tomato plants. Again, I've tried growing off to the side because they don't get enough sunlight. So they're trying to find where the sunlight is. And they grow little roots. You can see them, they grow little roots to get back into the soil. Help them support themselves. So now when so these are actually two tomato plants here, third one here. I believe that's another sunflower seed. Blueberry plants do not like the shade, and the blueberries I had on here, some little pest took them all. Left very little tiny ones left. My raspberry plants, while they do like the shade now in the springtime, they prefer more sun. And harvest is done. I didn't get as much as I expected this year. I've already cut off the tops here. Last year I just cut them off just a little bit and they regrew and got a couple of raspberries. So I'm hoping that if I cut off a third of the top, clean up, they'll have more chance to grow more. As you can sort of see, if you can see that they were growing out towards the sun, trying to find sun because of that tree. And again, my other grapevine just goes down here, comes up here, grows across there, grabs hold of this tree, and it's fine with that. And the question is whether or not it will actually produce any grapes. Don't expect any this year, but maybe next year. We'll see. Now, my garden tower here, it gets to be moved around, but it's still in the shade. And the strawberries, for the most part, have seemed to enjoy it as much sun as they get. And the fact that I've gotten another set of strawberries starting to produce is a good sign that it's okay. I mean, granted, they would probably like a lot more sunlight than they get, and they would probably produce more, but I'm happy with the fact that they've produced a second time. My wife somehow accidentally put some bird netting into her Amazon shopping cart, or not, and somehow got that instead of what she really wanted. But we decided, hey, maybe we can try to put it on the garden tower and maybe save the strawberries that are getting produced. Little flowers here are from the lettuce. I'm assuming that they will plant themselves again this year. My cucumber, it's growing around. Probably should let it grow on the other side of the net before it tangles itself up inside of it. So that's where it's starting right there. It's going off this way, it's going off that way. It's got a little bit of issue on the top, so hopefully it'll do fine. The tomato plant in here, again, they decided to jump off the side and grow that way. And it's got some flowers here, so I'm expecting or hoping that we'll get more than just a few little tomatoes in here. And maybe with the netting I'll be able to eat them before some other little pest eats them. You can see, same time in the morning, that over here it is completely in the shade. It is shaded all the way from our flower gardens up here and the tomato plants. And because I have them on these wiggly poles, they are growing straight up. And I do have a couple tomatoes going. But I do know that people in my grow area zone already have picked tomatoes because they get more sun than their tomatoes. So these tomatoes will grow, and last year I had tomatoes all the way up to October. So whether this is good or, it's shady. So just because it's shady, you'll still get some sort of harvest. You won't get as grand as harvest as other places. For example, let me walk down the street real quick. So I have a neighbor here who planted an apple tree. And we've had a lot of rain, and unfortunately his apples got blight. But as hopefully you can see, there are a lot of apples on this little tree. So if it wasn't for this blight that he got, there's lots of apples. So it would have been a good harvest. Unfortunately, it is ruined. Now let's see, another neighbor, they also get shade from their stuff, but they actually do have some ripe tomatoes on their plants. And they planted theirs after mine, but they planted theirs with pre-grown tomato plants. Now this neighbor obviously gets morning sun, and their little plants are just amazing. They get plenty of sun. I guess they're doing plenty of watering, and they get great growth here. And then I guess in the afternoon time when it gets really hot, they're going to get shade from that side, so it doesn't hurt their plants as much. So lucky for them, they got their garden in a good spot. So in this bag, I used to have a potato plant. So this morning I checked out, and the potato plant leaves were dead. They were already going down. So I dug in and I found this. So this big one is the largest potato I've ever gotten out of the bags. And it's almost the same size as the potato I planted to start it off. I got like 4 of these little star things. So I'm gonna plant that back in there just to see what they'll do. Maybe it'll create another plant, potato plant later. I don't know. I've never seen these little star things before. But that was a nice surprise, because usually I just get these little 2. And that could be, again, because of location, with the shade, and then all the rain we got. But yeah, I just wanted to show those people who are watching that while you have problems growing in the shade, it is possible to grow something in not the most ideal growing location. Thanks for joining. See you later. Bye.